Well, hello everybody, and thanks so much for waiting. Let me know if you can hear my audio. I had some problems yesterday. Let me know if you can hear me okay, and feel free to click share and like on this. Um, Thanks very much. Frank the Tank, thanks for saying, hey, can you just confirm for me that you've got audio? Because yesterday I had a little bit of microphone problems. Um, we have audio. Thanks, Oliver, for confirming that. I didn't want to get running before I knew that was a-okay. Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Um, you know what? It's funny because I'm away from the office yesterday and today, and I had planned that months and months and months ago, and it just so happened that it coincided with this great pandemic panic, and I'll be back at our Toronto bunker tonight, and I look forward to being there. Um, and I thought I would take a moment to talk a little bit about how we are operating here at Rebel News in this situation. And the reason I want to talk about that is I want to let you know what we're doing for our staff, because I know you care about them. I also want to let you know what we're doing in terms of our journalism. First, in terms of our staff, um, a lot of our staff work from out of the office anyways. As you know, Sheila Gunn Reid is based in Northern Alberta. Kean Bexty is based in Calgary. David Menzies is in Richmond Hill, which is near Toronto, but he's out and about in the streets a lot. Um, we have some editors and researchers who work from their own home. So we're sort of dispersed anyways, social distancing, as the kids say. But yesterday we had a staff meeting. About half the people were joining via Skype. And we made it clear to folks that if they're feeling under the weather, they should work from home. And if they want to work in the office, we have some extra offices, like little office spaces that they can work apart from other folks if that makes them feel better. We even have sort of a large room that they can put their laptop in. Um, Sort of how we've been operating all along. For example, one of our chief editors always works from home. She used to come in once a week, but she stays home anyway. She had a bit of a health bump in the road, and so she was working from home anyhow. So I just wanted to let you know that in terms of our own practices, I mean, there's people in our office who have a cold, and I don't think anyone in our office has coronavirus. But just out of an abundance of caution, folks who are under the weather are working from home. Frankly, if anyone would be at risk, it might be me because I've been doing so much traveling over the last while, but I feel like I'm in good shape. Kean Bexty has also done a fair bit of traveling. I think in terms of travel, obviously, the new rules that Trudeau is bringing in at midnight tonight, restricting travel to the US, will have some impact on us. I would occasionally go to the States to do some journalism. So would Kean. We'll rein that in because if I understand the new rules, Canadians are still allowed to travel abroad. But even coming in from the United States, I think there's a 2 week self isolation. I'm going to triple check that because I don't want to get that wrong. But obviously, we don't want to go um, to sorry, these I'm getting some comments on these. These are just obviously AirPods. I'm using them. Hopefully, the audio is better than it was yesterday. Um, um, there is news in the United States that we're very interested in, but I think we would probably curtail our travel anyhow. And if it is a fact that we have to self isolate for 2 weeks upon returning from the States, there's probably no news story down there that is urgent enough for us to take one of our reporters out of action for 2 weeks. So I think we're going to put any US reporting on ice. In terms of Canadian reporting, I said to our people at yesterday's staff meeting, and I said it on the phone to Kean and David, who do most of our travel, that if there's something that they don't really want to do, they don't feel comfortable doing, don't do it. I don't think we need to be totally panicky. We still have to cover the news, and I encourage them to wear whatever protective gear they want, like one of those fancy face masks and whatnot. So uh, I guess the 2 points I wanted to make clearest was that our staff. Oh, and I see a friendly note from Fiat Lux. Keep on the good work, Rebel. Here in Denmark, everything is locked down. Canada's PM is dragging your country down the drain. Yeah, we're locking Canada down, and it's a shame that we're locking Canada down instead of having done what I think the rest of the world was doing weeks ago, which is locking foreign virus carriers out. Um, there was the early cases of coronavirus in Canada were almost all from a foreign traveler to a Canadian. But now that it's hit a critical mass amongst Canadians, it's Canadians to Canadians that are spreading it. Um, had we stopped flights from China and Iran earlier, it's most likely that we would have cut off the virus influx to this country tremendously. Since we didn't do that because Trudeau insists on open borders, what's happening now is everyone is cut off from traveling. Everyone has to stay at home. They can't go out to their work or a restaurant or a theater or anything like that. I find that a similar thing that happens when you don't have borders, let's say with crime. You couldn't put a big wall around your country, or you can say, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, then get ready to put a big wall around your own house. Because you do need a wall and a lock on your door. The only question is, you put it around the whole community, or do you let anyone in your community and then you're a prisoner in your own home? Trudeau has made us prisoners in our own homes because he refused to keep out foreign virus carriers. Of course, the blame is not on Trudeau. The blame closest to the problem is that of Communist China, who for weeks was lying about the virus, arresting and silencing doctors who were trying to spread the news about it. So, message number one is that Rebel News, as far as I know, everyone's safe and sound. There are some people who have colds and sniffles and coughs, but we're pretty sure that's just normal colds and coughs. Um, I don't quite know how we would find out otherwise, though, to tell you the truth, because unless you're a celebrity like Sophie Trudeau, um, you can't just get a test. You have to, if you call, they really won't give just ordinary folks a test unless you in some way can link it to someone who was already confirmed to have the virus. But I feel in good health. Most of our people are in good health. We got one or two folks who have the sniffles who are working from home. At the office, people are welcome to take little, separate offices or whatnot, or just work from home, as about half our people do anyways. In terms of travel, we're not going to do travel to the US. We'll travel within Canada as reasonable. We had David Menzies go to the airport last night to greet a flight from China because they're still coming in, folks. Um, so I said to David, take precautions, but if you don't want to go, I'm not going to tell you to go. I mean, I think it's uh, there's a degree of risk, but in my mind, it was workable. But I said to our team, I said to both David and Kian, if there's a risk you don't want to take, don't take it. Um, I myself was planning to do a trip to Seattle and then come back from Seattle to Vancouver to test what it's like um, coming through Canada Customs. But now that I know that would require 2 weeks of self isolation, it's a good story idea, but I don't think it's worth me doing. Nikki, Ezra from Prime Minister, thanks for all your work. Well, thank you very much, Nikki. And I see you're chipping in pounds. I assume you're from the UK. Thank you for your support. I found the UK very interesting, and I was there for part of a day a week ago to cover Tommy Robinson's trial. Tommy invited me to come back and cover more of his legal matters in a few weeks, but I just don't think I can. I mean, I technically can, but I don't think I want to put myself in a 2-week quarantine upon return, which is, I think, is what the rule is. I'm going to see the fine print on that. Um, I want to make reference to one more thing. Yesterday and today, Justin Trudeau had a press conference, and he had the press conference on the steps of Rideau Cottage, as it's called. That's where he's living. The official prime minister's residence is called 24 Sussex Drive. It doesn't really have a special name, but Trudeau doesn't want to live there. His cook lives there and works there. I'm not even making that up. Trudeau's food is prepared at 24 Sussex Drive, and then it's driven a block and delivered to him at Rideau Cottage. It's really weird. And he's having a sorry, I I had a hiccup in the broadcast there for a second. So he's at Rideau Cottage, and he's having a press conference right outside, and the entire world is invited to attend, but you have to register through an agency of the government called the Press Gallery. And I know it's an agency of the government because it's run from Parliament with parliamentary staff and budget, and it has its power delegated by the Speaker of the House. They so basically it's Trudeau has the control, and he's delegated it to the Speaker of the House, who's delegated to this group called the Press Gallery. They have banned all Rebel News reporters from attending these press conferences. Justin Trudeau's press accreditation team has banned Rebel News reporters from attending his press conferences yesterday and again today. Now, I look at the list of reporters who are accredited, and they include a reporter from Xinhua, which, as you can probably tell from the sound of it, is a Chinese propaganda outlet. That's actually the largest Chinese government news agency. And they accredited a reporter from the People's Daily, the largest Chinese propaganda newspaper. They're so large they even have an English edition. So Justin Trudeau has literally accredited two Chinese government agents. There's no one in the world who would pretend that either Xinhua or the People's Daily are independent free presses. Or I mean, they're literally government agents. In fact, Charles Burton, a friend of mine who's a former diplomat from Canada to China, says that in the past, some of these Canadian-based Xinhua reporters have called him up saying, "Oh, Charles, can we ask you, or Professor, can we ask you some questions for a news story?" And he talks to them, and the information is never even published. They're literally spies who just give that information straight back to the Chinese Communist Party. So they're not even journalists. They don't even publish half the stuff they record. They are literally spies who walk around pretending to be journalists. Trudeau has accredited two Chinese spies. I'm sorry, when you gather information in Canada, don't publish it, give it secretly and privately to the Chinese Communist Party. That's called being a spy. And Justin Trudeau will literally allow two Chinese spies to attend his press conferences, but will not allow Rebel News to attend. Now, what does this mean? Does it hurt my feelings? No, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I think it's terrible for Canada that we have this Chinese style censorship, just the same way China punished journalists who were critics. Trudeau punishes journalists who are critics. So that scares me. I wouldn't say that hurts my feelings. Um, we can watch Trudeau on the live stream just like anyone else. What he's really trying to accomplish is avoiding us asking him questions like, why haven't you shut down the open border crossing at Roxham Road? That's an example of a question that I'm pretty sure the CBC state broadcaster won't ask. So I don't think this is going to. I see Lamont Boucherville. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rebel News. Put CBC to shame. That's nice of you to say. They have literally 1,000 times our budget. Um, so is this going to stop our coverage of the coronavirus? So I guess that was the main point of my video today. The first is to let you know that we're trying to take care of our people. Um, People are allowed to work from home. People are allowed to work in separate offices at the office. People are doing less traveling now, really no foreign travel anymore. And I'm telling folks, yeah, we got to cover these stories, but if you really feel uncomfortable, don't do it. And why don't you just put on one of those fancy masks? Um, but the second point is that absolutely we're going to do more journalism than ever. I think we have to. I mean, we have all the hallmarks of, um, an echo chamber building here. Let me just give you one small example. I see some journalists today saying, "Oh, Patty Hajdu, the health minister. She's so wonderful, and she was tearing up in a press conference. It was just no, no, no. Are you kidding me? Patty Hajdu, utterly unqualified to be health minister. She's the one who just 2 weeks ago had a press conference and say, "Hey, Canadians, you should stockpile food and medicine." She's the one who fired the starter pistol that panicked everyone, that made them rush to all the stores and buy out everything. That crackpot, that kook, is in charge, and all the media are fawning over her. She's a gender quota hire. Don't take it from me. That's what Trudeau himself said. Hey, Rod, thanks very much for chipping in. So, look, we are a very small team. Oh, there's an Argentina comment. Let me read that one. Here in Argentina, we had all foreigners coming into the country being sent back last Sunday. Now the government has announced that starting this Thursday, all domestic flights will be grounded. Wow. Well, that's quite something. I don't know if they'll quite ground domestic flights in Canada. Argentina is a very large country geographically, just like we are here in Canada. I find it hard to imagine that all flights would be grounded, but maybe. Um, I see Mo saying Roxham Road forever. Roxham Road put on the red light. Well, as you know, Kean went to Roxham Road and just the other day and videotaped the Mounties helping bring luggage over the border for illegal migrants who obviously didn't have any fever checks or any health checks. So yeah, that's terrifying. So what are we going to do? I see John Jacobs says Bill Blair was just asked about Roxham Road. All right. Well, I will look forward to watching that clip, and we'll do some real on the ground reporting there. I can assure you. Um, so we're going to keep doing our reporting. And look, it reminds me of how we cover the United Nations. And here's my example on that. We attended the first United Nations Global Warming Conference. I think we went in 2016. When I say first, Rebel News only started in 2015. I don't think we were there that year, but we've been to every global warming conference the UN has held since. And we went to a UN nanny state conference in India, believe it or not. We went to a UN migration conference in Morocco. And I think we've been to four UN global warming conferences now. Marrakesh, Morocco, Bonn, Germany, Madrid, Spain, and Katowice, Poland. After we went to the first one, we were banned. The Canadian government asked the UN to refuse to accredit us. Like I say, they'll accredit Chinese propaganda agencies, they'll accredit Al Jazeera, but they will not accredit Rebel News. Has that stopped us? No, it has not. We still go. Now, we don't get into the individual meeting rooms where they are just read, prefab speeches. But I put it to you, our journalism is better because at those official conferences, really, they just manage reporters. They herd them. They keep them with blinders on. They spoon feed them official talking points. Are you really ever going to learn anything? I see a European donation there. Slova Morsis. I can't read the Cyrillic. I'm not sure if that's Russian um, or Greek, but I thank you for your support. Are you really going to learn something in a scripted press conference room where you're spoon fed the official line? I don't think so. That's Chinese style journalism, and that's media party journalism in Canada and the United States. I sort of like the fact that we're dissidents and we're being locked out. It irritates me from a free speech point of view and from a what's happening in our country point of view. But I regard it as a sign that we are asking questions that the other guys aren't. I mean, I can't recall the total number of journalists who attend these UN global warming conferences. It's in the thousands. Like it's not just hundreds. It's thousands of reporters attend. And if we at Rebel News are literally the only folks banned because we're the only folks asking tough critical questions, isn't that sort of a badge of credibility in a way that they won't accredit us? Well, I don't want their accreditation because their accreditation means you're a trustworthy journalist who will be a stenographer. In fact, if you were let in by the UN. What does that say about you? I should tell you, just to remind you folks, that in October, when Trudeau's hand picks handpicked election debates commission kept our reporters out, we rushed to court and got an emergency injunction to be let in. And we won that one. And in fact, Trudeau had to pay us $5,000 in costs for trying to stop us. So maybe we will sue to be granted coverage access. But and I'll think about that. But we can do coverage on the pandemic without just going to be spoon-fed blather from politicians. We can go to the airport as David Menzies did last night when the Hong Kong plane landed. We can go to Roxham Road. We can do things like that. Carlin Thomas, did Trudeau pay us yet? Yes. I'm sorry, I should have sent an email out. We finally got the $5,000 that Trudeau owed us, and oh, he delayed for about 6 months. That he paid his lawyers 131 grand right away, but he delayed paying us for 6 months on that. Um, Look, I think the need for rebel news is as strong now as ever. You have the kind of groupthink in Ottawa that I've rarely seen before. It's a very strange phenomenon. Canadian journalists are very comfortable criticizing Donald Trump in this pandemic, and I guess that's fine. But why would Canadian journalists specialize in criticizing Donald Trump instead of criticizing Justin Trudeau? American reporters don't waste their time inspecting Trudeau. They sort of leave that to Canadian reporters. American reporters cover America. Canadian reporters, I mean, we all are interested in America, but why are Canadian reporters obsessed? Trump did this, Trump did that. Okay, even if you're right, why don't you bring that same scrutiny to Canada? What's that phrase in the Bible? You can see a splinter in your neighbor's eye, but not the timber in your own. So we are so good at finding the little flaws in Donald Trump. Okay, fair enough. Anyone want to take on some of Justin Trudeau's flaws, like the fact that I mean, there are Chinese flights landing in Vancouver today. How do you feel about that? And they're not subject to, a fever test or anything like that. They're just not. So yeah, have a run at Donald Trump, fill your boots. Anyone want to have a run at Justin Trudeau? Well, I'm interested in that, which is precisely why I've been banned, or our people have been banned from attending Trudeau's press conferences, but not Xinhua and People's Daily. Um, we're at 22 minutes here. I'm going to wrap up my comments and then I'll take some questions. But I just want to throw one more thought at you. And Posey Post says first 5G city in the world, first case of Wuhan virus. Question everything. Let me make a quick reference to 5G. 5G, as most of you probably know, is the fifth generation of cell phone technology, and of course, cell phones, computers, telecom, there really is no difference. It's all the same thing now. Everything's the internet. Everything is super high bandwidth. Sardonic poet, will you be able to ask Trudeau questions? Well, they're not letting us into these press conferences, and I think I know why. Um, so 5G is the next technology. It's very high tech, it's very high bandwidth, and it'll basically control everything because the internet already controls so many things. You can already do so many things from your phone. This will just make it so much more, so much faster, so much more data, and really controlling um, all your appliances, your car. Um, like it really will be like Skynet. So who do you want running Skynet? Well, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust Silicon Valley. I mean, do you trust Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos or um, the left-wing activists, social justice warriors at Google? I don't. But I trust them about an ounce more than I trust China, because one of the leading companies making 5G networking equipment is Huawei, which is, as you can tell, a Chinese company. And Huawei wants to install the 5G networks, really the backbone to everything in Western countries. And you've got to be absolutely insane to let Huawei, which is controlled by the Communist Party of China, to build your core internet telecom infrastructure all your 911 calls, all your data. You've got to be insane to let China do that to begin with. And watching their misconduct and their deception and their malice these past months, that's terrifying. And Justin Trudeau loves Huawei and loves China. And just as a quick reminder, it's now been 15 months since China illegally took two Canadians hostage as a diplomatic tit for tat. They have two Canadians hostage. All right, let's take some questions. If you want me to read your question for sure, make it a super chat. Otherwise, I'll just pick random questions. Um, there was a good one there. Justin should not be tested. He should be arrested. Well, I don't believe really in arresting politicians, but yeah, he should be tested. And again, it's a good point. All these Canadian reporters were saying Donald Trump should be tested for coronavirus. He was, and he came up negative. But why aren't they asking the same thing of Justin Trudeau, or even asking questions like, "Hang on, how did Idris Elba, the UK actor, get coronavirus from?" I think he gave it or got it from or gave it to Sophie Trudeau. But how did Justin Trudeau not get it from her? What's the story there? I'm not looking for salacious gossip. I just want to understand. Um, Deborah Allen, yes, he should be arrested. Well, I mean, the thing is, if you arrest your political opponents, don't be shocked when they are in power and they want to arrest you. I don't really believe in arrests unless there's a real crime. Now, I think Trudeau may well have committed a crime in his corruption for SNC-Lavalin, but of course, Trudeau's RCMP are too lazy to investigate. Lazy, I don't know about lazy. I think that the new RCMP commissioner is corrupted by Trudeau. I'll say that pretty bluntly. Um, Jack Frost, why won't they say 10 people or less being together, not 50? Oh, there's another contribution in, I think, from Argentina. Are you suing the Trudeau's government yet again for not letting you into their press conferences? We have two active lawsuits against Trudeau right now. One is, believe it or not, still against the Debates Commission. They are refusing to, well, they're trying to refused to participate in what we call a judicial review of their handling of the debates. So we had a court date set for that, but I think all court matters are pretty much on ice in Canada. And also, I'm being investigated right now, as you may know, by Trudeau's election commissioner for publishing a book critical of Trudeau called The Libranos. Um, so we have two active lawsuits or legal matters with the Trudeau government. And we may have more, especially if we choose to take steps for them banning us from press conferences. People sending in money aren't from Canada because we don't have any money. Yeah, I mean, who knows what the weeks and months ahead will happen. Jack Tiernan, what's the feeling on the ground in Canada re Corona? Well, I think people in Canada are getting their news the same way people in America and Europe are. We're getting official statements that we give some credence to, but you can't. I mean, seriously, the very first thing that Canada's chief medical officer said a few weeks ago was stop being racist. So is she really speaking as a doctor or is she speaking as a politician? Then we saw the health minister, Patty Hajdu, say, go out and ransack your grocery store. She used the word stockpile. Yeah. So, I mean, do you trust Justin Trudeau to take care of your family? Trust him to take care of his family. He'll always do that, although it sounds like Sophie Trudeau's not under his close care. But I don't trust Justin Trudeau to take care of my family. Do you? I don't trust Patty Hajdu, a gender quota hire with no qualifications. Do you? There was one universally regarded competent cabinet minister in Trudeau's last cabinet. Um, whether you were on the right or the left, journalists of every stripe acknowledged that Dr. Jane Philpott was an excellent um, health minister, and Trudeau fired her, literally the most competent minister in his cabinet, because she was too ethical, because she stood with Jody Wilson-Raybould. Um, Let me see if I can see some more chats. There's a lot of chemtrails this morning. I don't believe in chemtrails. I think that's just a vapor trail. Ireland in lockdown. Yeah, no surprise there. They've had a globalist open borders government for years. Why are so many stars and big name people in quarantine? Because they get access to the tests that you and I, as severely normal people, don't get. And they probably travel more and they schmooze more and they're sort of part of the globalist class that flies around. I mean, Sophie Trudeau went over to London, was schmoozing with movie stars. And so you're in that kind of international jet set. Paco chips and 20 bucks. Thank you very much for that. Elizabeth, you don't believe in chemtrails? Are you serious? I'm serious. Robert Williamson, 279, Roxham, the only place legal immigrants enter? No, they can enter anywhere, but about 50,000 have simply walked right over at Roxham Road from New York State into Quebec. And obviously, they're not Americans. They're foreigners who fly into New York and then take a cab or a bus and just go across the border because they know that you can get into Canada for free. Um, Is Roxham Road closed? I wish you were at the address. Oh, let me just read the rest of that. Um, I wish you were at the address, the nation, to ask real questions. Well, that's a good point, and I thank you for that. But I think the answers probably are found at Roxham Road itself. And as you know, Kean Bexley was at Roxham Road a couple of days ago, and don't be surprised if you see a few more reports from Kean on location. Ezra, grow a beard. Yeah, you know what? Like I said, I've been no, that's Trudeau's move. I've been away for a few days. This was long scheduled, but I'm going back to the office tonight. Um, I wish Perky Pokey says, I wish Tommy Robinson could move to Canada. Well, I don't think Tommy wants to leave. Want to develop an app says, "Hey, you, thanks very much." I don't think Tommy Robinson wants to leave the UK. I don't think his family wants to leave. They're Brits. Beard would look nice. I don't think so. I've never had a beard in my life. I don't really propose to have one. Canadian Realty Advertising, the Rebel Rocks. That's nice of you to say. Varying Redbeard, he's a patriot. Tommy very much is a patriot. And I think he needs to stay and fight for his country as long as he can, as long as it's safe. Of course, he has to live his own life and make his own decisions. Mike Smith, have you applied for a government media grant? No, we haven't, but maybe we should apply just to see what they say and do with that. Bob Tennyson, $2. Thanks very much. Um, okay. Is Turdy getting tested? Media forced Trump to get tested. No, so far, unless something's happened in the last hour, I don't think he's getting tested. Um, Voluntary quarantines and business restrictions and business closures and mandatory quarantines. Yeah, as the left always says, never let a crisis go to waste. Are you Christian, Ezra? Just wondering. No, I'm a Jew. Jody Smith, get those Q-tips out of those ears. These aren't Q-tips. These are AirPods. They're Wi-Fi headphones because my and microphones because it wasn't working very well yesterday. Do you believe in subliminal messaging, Ezra? Well, I think it's a thing. Whether or not it works, I don't know, but obviously it is a thing. Jay Dixon, are you Messianic Jewish? No. Mr. Jinx, the left are never right. Mike Smith, I'd like to see the reasoning for your media grant denial. Well, there's no surprise there. They'll just say that we're not real journalists. Would Rebel News expose? Oh, where'd that go? Employers hiring cheap labor. Well, it's something we talk about. Because that's one of the reasons for open borders is that employers like wages being pushed down by cheap foreign labor, and they like housing prices being pushed up. I mean, when you bring in 50,000, 100,000, a quarter million, a million people who to your country from a foreign country who are used to a lower standard of living, maybe they'll work for 10 or 15 bucks an hour where a Canadian wouldn't. So uh, you're pushing salaries and wages down. But wow, you've got 100,000, quarter million people who need more housing. So you're pushing housing prices up. It's good if you're a boss. I don't think it's so good if you're just a severely normal Canadian. Also add in um, lineups at hospitals, lineups at schools, food banks, whatever. So there's a real globalist reason to have mass migration. Amber B, what do you think about Q? I think it's a fantasy. I think it's a little bit of self-delusion and wishful thinking. It's interesting like a game or a puzzle, but I don't think it's real. It reminds me of those Dan Brown novels. Um, Flying Pete 73. I only have 5 rolls. Well, keep a hold on those. Those will be like very valuable currency. There's no need for Ezra to be born again. Okay. Um, Use paper towels. Okay, lots of personal hygiene tips here. Um, Vodka as a hand sanitizer. Well, there you go. I might try and sanitize myself from the inside out. Is Boris Johnson's government being too slow with their response? I think so. I haven't followed it too closely. Robert Williamson, too old to fight anymore, moving to Cambodia. Okay, I mean, my guess is that there'll be a lot of things about Cambodia that are less comfortable. As you believe, this is a smokescreen for financial reset and mass arrests. Well, look, I do. It's not even a matter of belief. We know that China deliberately covered this up, deliberately lied about what was going on, and permitted people they knew were infected to travel around the world. Whether or not there was a master strategy or just a natural effect of a totalitarian regime, I'm not quite sure. Um, if you haven't watched it yet, may I highly, highly recommend the HBO miniseries called Chernobyl. Not only is it beautifully done, terrifying, great cinematography, gripping, but it's a real reminder for how totalitarian regimes handle crises, handle information, handle scapegoating. Um, and it's completely applicable to how China handled the Wuhan coronavirus. All right, I'm at 37 minutes. I think I've been going on a little bit long. Yaniv was in court for his weapons charges. Did Key and Go cover it? We were going to send someone, and then we heard word that the courts were being shut down, and we assumed that Yaniv's hearing would not proceed. In fact, it did proceed. And I think we've got a video coming out with some info on that. I don't. We were not there to cover it. We thought that the court would be canceled. All right, my friends, it's been 37 minutes, so I'm going to take a break there. Thanks to everybody who chipped in with your super chats. I appreciate that. I'll be back in our world headquarters in Toronto tonight, and I'll see you from there tomorrow. We'll have news for you on the coronavirus as it affects Canada and the world. I recommend keep watching our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, and if you go to rebelnews.com, you can sign up for a bunch of things, including for my nightly show. All right, my friends, that's it. Take care out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Got to figure out how to turn this off now.